We are live.
Yes.
Hi,
Another
everybody.
episode.
Yes. Hope you guys missed us.
We are back in full color for your consumption pleasure. And our topic today, our story time, this is more like a story time,
Yes.
is
Yes.
walking through the veil in the cemetery, which was our last and most recent experience. Now, let's start off with a moment of truth, honey, to let you girls know, okay, this is not my personal experience working with foreign spirits, spirits of the dead, anything like that. But it has been almost, I would say, 10 years, okay, almost a decade of since the last time I had actually been to a cemetery. Okay, it's been 10 years since I myself have actually walked through a cemetery. And tonight we're going to share on our experience with that because, of course, I was with my bestie, Raina. And
Yes.
what would you like to add to that as far as how foreign it was, or when was the
Right.
last time you walked through a cemetery?
Right. Well, for me, I would say it has been more than 10 years. I was young when my cousin's grandfather died, and I remember that was the last time that I went to the cemetery. And what's just so funny about it is that the cemetery is literally like a few blocks from my house. It's in walking
That's
distance,
so
and
true.
I have not been there in so long. I have procrastinated about going, but I just never, decided to even walk over there or whatever. It's just, I just put it off. But we decided to meet up. It just kind of like it was the right time. I feel like it was the right time for us. I feel like things happen right when they need to. And I feel like it was the right time.
Hmm. Hmm. So let's start with just the whole beauty of it. Okay, so Raina and I, we met up,
Right.
and like he says, the cemetery is not far from his house,
It
so
was
it's
across
literally
the
walking
street.
distance.
Yeah, we parked
It's
across the
literally
street.
walking. Well, we parked at the park, which
Yeah.
is like it's like two major streets, and then the cemetery. So it's a little bit, but it's not like directly across the street. Because that would have been like real thick. Like it was right across the street, and you've never gone. Um, so basically, we parked the car at the park, which across the street is a cemetery. And I think I think our intentions were to just kind of not even. Well, I don't even think we were gonna go. We just kind of was like, well, let's go to the park and like let's smoke. Okay, because yes, and the girls do smoke allowed. Um, and let's kind of post up and just see what the afternoon gives us, like see what we're feeling. So that's what we did. And we're like, you know what? Like, we need to go to the cemetery. And so Raina's like, well, we need to bring some sort of offering, at the gatekeeper. Like, we need to pay our dues before entering here. And so we said, we're like, well, Oshun is the gatekeeper. She's known as one of the gatekeepers. So why don't we take 5 pennies, okay, and make our way through to the cemetery. So mind you, I go in my little glove compartment and I think I had about 4, maybe 3 or 4 pennies. And so we were kind of like, well, we need to find a penny. We need to find a penny. So we're like walking, and I'm like, oh, we're going to end up seeing a penny on the ground because they're usually just everywhere. Somebody's going to drop a penny. And we're walking, and we did not see any pennies. But when we got to the street to cross, which would have led us to the other side where the cemetery was, someone drove by and they literally just dropped, I don't know, they like dropped a coin or threw a coin out the window, and you can hear the clank of it like bounce off their car and bounce in the street. And we was just like, mind you, this entire experience is confirmation upon confirmation upon undeniable confirmation. And that's what was so magical about it and so personable about it, is that we were just getting confirmation after, like, literally the place itself was calling to us as empaths, as spiritual workers, and as those who have ties to the spirit realm. We were being invited. And basically we took the sound of the coin, because we were kind of nervous, like, okay, well, if we don't have enough, like, you know, are we not going to be welcome? You know, is this offering going to be kind of like shunned? And the bouncing of the coin was kind of confirmation, like, don't worry about it. Like, don't even worry about it. You know, it's nothing. So would you like to add to that little first part of how we?
Well, it was very magical. It was a very magical beginning. You know how we heard the coin, the cha-ching, because it was like a cha-ching noise that we heard when the car passed by. And it was like, wow, it sounded like coins, you know, right when we're looking for coins. So yeah, so we crossed the street and we get to the gate, to the front of the gate, you know, and I was gonna put the coins on the floor, but then you stopped me and you were like, oh, no, like put it up here. So then I see that there was a coin already there. So somebody left a coin. And it was,
and I believe it was 5 cents.
It was like, yeah, it was, but it was like an old coin. Like it was like very, you could barely see almost what type of, like, what was on it, but it was just like a silver coin. And yeah, we placed the money next. We placed our pennies, because, you know, like you said, Reina, you know, Miss Oya, she is the gatekeeper. So we left that in honor of the Orisha Oya. She is the gatekeeper of the cemetery. She's in charge of the first breath that you give and the last breath that you give. Okay, she is in charge of that. So I just want you to talk about what happened next after we put the coin, at the gate, you know, in honor of the gatekeeper. What happened next? Like, what happened next?
So to touch on the gate, yes. Well, there were 2 podiums. It was like an archway for the drivers to kind of turn in from the main street to turn into the cemetery and drive along drive into the cemetery area. So the archway that connected the 2 columns, you know, Reina was going to put the coin on the ground, and I was like, no, like, look, like there was this extra little ledge that ran along the column itself where you could kind of place something. It wasn't too wide, but it was just enough that you could fit a coin up there. And there was another coin up there, like Reina said, and it was kind of old and couldn't really tell what it was, but it looked like a nickel. So we placed our coin and we walked through the gate. And so we're walking, and, you know, I'm just thinking to myself, like, wow, you know, I haven't been inside of a cemetery in so long. Like, what am I going to experience? Like, what's going to happen? And there's plenty of people there. There's workers there. There are people that are burying their loved ones and family and saying their goodbyes. There was a funeral actually happening. And so we were walking, and it wasn't when we initially walked through the threshold of the archway. It wasn't then. It was when we got to these shrubs, okay, which were like probably maybe 12 to 15 steps ahead. So you're pacing yourself, you're walking, you know, you're going past the initial entryway. And then there were these shrubs that kind of like divided, because after the shrubs, that's when the tombstones began, the rows of tombstones began. Honey, when we hit them shrubs, it was undeniable. It was an undeniable transition. It was an undeniable, you know, change. It was an undeniable pressure in the air. It was an undeniable atmosphere. It was undeniable. Like, the shit hit both of us at the same time. Like, shook. But it wasn't like a scary shook. I was a little bit scared. Not scared. I was a little bit shaken. I was kind of like, because, you know, being empath and being hypersensitive, you can pick up on fluctuations of the energy level You can, you know what I'm saying? And it was like, definitely something had changed, and I could feel it in my heart chakra. It felt like this, I don't want to say sadness because that's too direct and it's not accurate. It was a very somber, it was peaceful, but also kind of longing and a touch of sadness, like a little bit of sorrow. Like that place has a cemetery soaks up a lot of energy of sadness, sorrow, loss. True. So it's gonna carry that, and we could feel that immediately. But it wasn't so much like it was our own. It was just we could feel it. So when we walked past the shrubs, honey, the veil, that veil, and I remember looking at Raina, and the entire time, like my fist was clenched in my heart, kind of like holding myself, and Raina was like, "It's okay, girl, like calm down, like I could feel it too, like calm down." And I was like, "Girl, like I know you felt that, right?" And we're just both like, "Yes," like we felt that, and it felt like walking through water. It felt like walking through very thin water. Like I don't know how to explain, but like as if you were walking through a bit of a fog, but the fog was invisible and you could feel
just a little bit of pressure, just a little bit of.
It was pressure. It was a little pressure. And as if we were walking through the thick, like the condensed pressure of the atmosphere. Is what it felt like. So we immediately walked in, and Raina's like, immediately just started going and looking at the tombstones, and I'm just trying to collect myself because I'm just like,
but like I can say like I felt, because when we walked through that threshold, when we walked through that spiritual veil, like I paused. It was like a split second of like pausing my step. I had to pause my step like for a split second, and then I continued walking. That's just what it felt like. Like if I was gonna trip on something, like if I tripped but I didn't, like it was like that. That's what I could. So it was
just like we had to look at each other and just be like, "Ooh, girl,"
Yeah.
Like one of those
it was like pay attention. It was like pay attention. Like once we crossed that threshold, it was pay attention. Like so it wasn't like don't look at your phone. Look, it was like look at your environment and be in it. You know what I'm saying?
Respect.
Respect. Because we were listening to music across the street while we were walking, so it's like I had to turn that off. We turned that off, and it was like they wanted your attention. So
yes, they did.
So so go ahead. So we once we went in.
So we go inside and we began to walk, and at this point we veered. There were cars coming, and we were like, okay, like let's kind of get off of the road, the driving way of the cars, and so we kind of stepped into the tombstone area. And I kid you not, the further we went in, the elevated, like how do you say, the higher the pressure began, or the more condensed, thick the pressure began to feel, and it was bracing itself against my heart chakra, like you're walking. It felt like walking through something. It was definitely walking through this pressure, and the further we went in, the higher or thicker it got. So we go in, we veer to, now mind you, August is outside, so there are trees, there's different, but we veer to the right, and we start walking, and we are looking at different tombstones, and we're looking at the dates of when they began, or when they were born, and then when they left. And we noticed that towards the front of the cemetery, closer to the entrance, was the oldest members that were buried there.
And from what year? From what years?
There were a lot of people born in the 1800s, the early 1800s, who lived throughout to the late 1800s or early 1900s. I don't know how they would possibly say that. Maybe the early 1900s. There was a lot more of those type of people, and there were a lot more Hispanic people towards the beginning as well. And what I also noticed, but we'll get into that in a few, is that they did section different groups based on age. They had, they had the Jewish, and they had the Jewish section where their people were buried, and then they had like the younger generation. They had a section and stuff like that. So, honey, when we tell you there was this confirmation piece all left and right, but we ain't even there yet. So we go in, we're veering to the right, and we're looking at tombstones, and then we just kind of, I bring my tarot deck. And I'm like, girl, we're going to do a reading up in here, honey.
Yes.
We're going to do a reading up in here. And so we pick a little spot that is in between two tombstones. But in between those two tombstones, there was like a bit of a space. So there was a bit of a sitting space to kind of sit. And then there was like this little ledge that one could sit upon. So we kind of like posted there. And at first, it was very quiet. It was one thing that was very quiet. It was very, very quiet. There wasn't much movement. But then as we sat down and we started to collect ourselves, the pressure started to decline. And we started to relax a little bit more. Then we started noticing all this life. Okay, excuse me. We start to notice all this life that's moving around. Okay, there are little moths that are fluttering. There are, different birds and just crows, honey. But we didn't get to the crows yet. But we first noticed the moths, and they were kind of fluttering around. They started like
they were yellow.
They were yellow, and some were purple or violet, like lavender. So when we sat, there was nothing around us. Nothing was near us. We didn't see any life at all. And me and Raina, I started channeling. Like right away, I started channeling, because that's one thing about the dead. Like, they're eager to talk to you. They're eager to have someone listen. They're eager to get that life and that attention. So it was just things coming to me about life. And one of the things that I heard the spirit was saying, or spirits were saying to me, is that one thing everybody leaves this planet with is some form of regret. Like, everybody wishes they could have done this, they could have done that, they didn't do this, they would have done that differently. Everybody leaves this planet with some form of regret. So, I was just kind of like really taking all of that in, really letting all of that dissect into me, and just really feeling the energy of all these people that were here. This was their resting place. And I had like a lot of respect for it. So before I get into like the life that did come around, well, I'll say this. So during that moment of quiet, we were kind of, me and Raina were kind of talking about, we're looking at it as from a glass half empty perspective. And then, all these moths just start like coming around us, fluttering around us, flying by, zipping this and this and that. It was at that one point, okay, I'll tell you how funny spirit is. They do not want you on your phone. They do not want you on their phone at all. So it was at some point that we were sitting, and I just kind of casually picked up my phone, because it's like second nature for us nowadays to pick up our phone and be on our phone. I have the phone in my hand. In flies a moth, and mind you, any other time a bug approaches me, I am like scared out of my wits, honey. A moth comes and flutters in between. I have my hand, both hands together, holding the phone as if you're playing a sort of Game Boy. I don't know. You're holding it in both hands. And so a moth comes in between my wrists and kind of flutters back and forth between my wrists, and then flies out and flies away. And I didn't jump. I didn't get scared or anything. I was just kind of like, and immediately I heard the spirit say, "Put that phone down, child. Child, put the phone down." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I put the phone down. And that was just like one of the many confirmations. So, Raina, I want you to talk about your entry and veering into the right and going into that area, what that experience was like for you as well.
Well, I did feel at peace. I was looking at the different tombstones, looking at the years, and like you said, there were a lot of people from the 1800s, I was very surprised at that. I thought it was going to be a more newer or more recent living people that have died or whatever. I didn't expect people from the 1800s, so I did like that because I do love old cemeteries. So the fact that the cemetery does have people who lived over 100 years ago, in it, I do like that a lot. And when we did get to the place, because it was so coincidental how our little spot was in between two graves, but there wasn't a grave where we were sitting at. It was kind of like an open space in between the graves, and that's where we kind of decided to sit. So it was real convenient. We just had all of these graves by us, and I remember I was talking to you, and I heard like something, like a little something like shuffling to my left, and I look, and it causes me to look at the grave to my left, and it's this person who they lived in they were born in the 1870s, but the day that they died was very close to my birthday. So I felt like the person wanted me to look at their name, wanted me to look at the grave and kind of acknowledge that date as close to mine, because I always like things around my birthday, so I always notice things like that. So I was like, wow, they were they died like right close to where my birthday was, and it wasn't a coincidence that I heard that noise and that I looked and that date was there. It wasn't a coincidence. And I feel like the dead speak to you through coincidences and through, synchronicities. And we were getting a lot of those there. So it was just and it's just the beginning, so already it was just very magical.
Yes, absolutely. So, let's see. So basically, yes, we're sitting in that sort of designated spot that we chose for ourselves. We are getting all these confirmations. We are getting, just channeling. Channeling. And me and Raina are just having a conversation, just dialogue back and forth about life and death and how fast it is and how fleeting it is and just how, like what's next and what do you leave with? What do you take with you? Those sort of questions. And the next thing you know, like this row of crows just start. Mind you, it's the funny thing about it. Well, this is like so quiet in the cemetery, so we were not expecting any life, any activity. We're expecting it to just be somber or sober and quiet and just nothing happening. These row of crows, and it just looks so edgy and witchy and just so beautiful, like out of a movie or something, because the sky is so gray, mind you. Okay, the whole world, I don't know, like walking through that, it was like walking into a different dimension. And I've experienced, well, me and Raina have both experienced dimensional shifts before. Okay, so we're not shy to them. And sometimes when you walk through a portal way into a designated zone, a designated sort of parallel dimension, it can be other people there. It could be this going on. It could be real life happening all around. But in that particular spot, at that particular time, with you in it, it's something totally different. And that's exactly what we experienced. So there was these row of crows that just come like zooming over our heads. I mean, literally zooming over our heads. And they're flying up, and there's like this kind of tree not too far off from where we were, but they all kind of go over there and they kind of perch up over there, and they were actually saying hi to us, because as they were flying over, it was some that lingered in the back, and they were just, even the way they cawed, it was just very like, hi, and it was just kind of like, whoa, like, did they really come to like see us? Did they really come to kind of see about us? Because they came over, they flew over, non-threateningly, non-territorially. They just kind of like flew over, and then the ones that were lingering in the back, they kind of like cawed a little bit and greeted us. So they perched up in a tree that not too far up from us. They were very quiet. They were not like going crazy or whatever. They kind of did their thing, and then they end up like leaving. So then we pull out the cards, honey. So now I'm gonna let you tell about the cards situation because you did that. This was you that did that, Rena, with the cards.
Me?
Yes, when you shuffled and
I know. I was shuffling.
Tell about the spread.
Should I give them like the cards that came out in the spread?
Do we remember all of them?
I took a picture.
I said, oh, yes, you should, honey. Let them girls know. Because it ain't no game over here, honey. We don't go to the cemetery to post on IG.
Okay, we sure don't. So you want me to tell them the cards?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I was shuffling or whatever. Shuffling how I shuffle. We wanted to ask the spirits just to give us wisdom. Tell us what you know. Like, it was just an open letter for them. Just tell us what you know. Tell us about life. Tell us about death. Just tell us, like, give us information. Just, and to be honest, I was a little nervous to see what we were gonna get because, anybody who's gotten a tarot reading knows that there are several cards in the deck that can, be of the negative nature, and we're over here asking spirits to communicate to us. So I was kind of a little bit, like, I wonder. I was a little nervous to see what they were gonna say, but I laid the cards out, and to my surprise, I was like, oh my God, I was shocked. I was shocked at this reading. So let me look at my phone real quick and read to you guys the 10 cards that came out in the reading. Okay, let me go look. Hold on. So the first card, the present position, was the 7 of Chalices. So are we gonna break it down one by one, or should I just read all of them?
No, just give out just a little summary. I think we can do. So the 7 of Chalices. Was it the 7 of Chalices?
7 of Pentacles.
Pentacles. Okay, yeah. This card represents waiting, being dissatisfied, having abundance in front of you, yet kind of it depicts a man who has tended to a garden, and the garden is ripe, the fruits are ready, but yet he's still kind of waiting for that one more fruit or that one more bud to kind of tell him it's okay for him to pick,
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of has the same energy to it that the 4 of Chalices does, because the 4 of Chalices, that's about boredom, dissatisfaction,
right.
Not really, kind of taking for granted.
Yeah, not taking what's in front of you, not taking what's in front of you, kind of just.
Absolutely.
Like, kind of not taking life by the balls. That's kind of, and it's like right there, It's kind of like just staying, it's a form of procrastination also, like kind of not moving, kind of just looking at the beautiful things or what you can be or do and not doing it, basically. So that's the first card. The second card was the immediate influences, and it was the 10 of Pentacles. So this card is about family, about, because it's like you said, Reina, how you said in the cemetery, like these people, they come from families, these are hetero people, most of them, who had kids, who had families, What else did you say? Because you did explain this very well.
I was saying that, a lot of those people were brought up with traditional family values. You work, you build a foundation for your children and your children's children. You try to pass along the correct ethics and morals to help teach your children to survive in this world. And, you just try to pass that along as best you can. So I feel like that's the life that all of them, or majority of them that were in that cemetery, they tried to live by. Those who at least had a full life, like they were very 10 of Pentacles. They wanted that tradition, and a lot of them too still, because this card also represents looking after, like watching over. In the African American tarot, it's about watching your ancestors, watching over you. So those people, they still had a job to do in watching over and looking after those that they left behind, or those that still carry their memories. So that's what I definitely felt like.
I agree with that. Now the next card was the Goal or Destiny, and it was the 8 of Wands.
And I picked up on this kind of thing. I remember I went in on this real quick because the spirit was telling me, you know, life happens so fast, and life is always happening. Life does not stop. She does not pause. She does not take a breath. You know, she's and see the depiction of the 8 of Wands is of, you know, the wands already in the air. It's a still flame of them suspended in the air. They have already been shot, but they haven't ever really hit something. And I feel like that's kind of like this, how life is. You know, she's just constantly in motion. She does not have an end. You know, even when we're gone, she doesn't stop. And when we're gone, like nobody bats an eye. No one.
Right.
Like,
it's that still frame. It's that still frame, honey. That's all life is a still frame. Okay. Wow. So the next card was the Distant Past Foundation, and it was the Wheel of Fortune.
The Wheel of Fortune. Well, I want you to touch on this card.
Well, this card I saw as our life before being born, kind of like the ether. You know, any possibility. It's a wheel. You know, take of the wheel. You could be born into this, be born into that. It's kind of like if it was kind of up to chance, really, what your life could be before it even was. That's kind of what I saw as the Wheel of Fortune. Like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna be? Like, what is, you know, that possibility before you were born? That potential. You know, that's kind of what I saw with this.
Absolutely, absolutely. I definitely thought with that too. Just kind of saying, you know, we all get dealt a particular hand, and it's all up to us to make the most of that hand. You know, do what we can with that hand, and just kind of like, it is what it is. It's not fair, and it's not fortunate for a lot of people, but a lot of people also have it worse. A lot of people are at the very bottom of the wheel. You know, a lot of people are at the top, and things change throughout each and everyone's life, our lives. And one thing I really picked up from that card for sure and for certain is that change is a constant. It's always happening. Life is constantly in motion. It follows with, you know, the Goal or Destiny too, which was the 8 of Wands. Like, it's constantly in motion. It's constantly in motion. So definitely.
So yeah, so the next card, the next card is the recent past, and it's the 10 of Wands.
Oh, I remember that one. Yes. So this card, it kind of spoke on like the burdens of life. You know, carrying the load. We all have to carry. We all got to carry something. None of us. I mean, unless you're born with, and even the girls, you know, people like to make it seem like, oh, like those born with a silver spoon in their mouth, it's so like this and that. Those girls suffer too. You know, they have a lot of their own sort of setbacks and things that people like regular people, we don't have to worry about. Like, I don't have to worry about sitting around a bunch of phony ass family members or phony ass people that's looking to cut my ass out of a will. You know what I'm saying? And it's all this backstabbing and plotting and all this money moo shit. Like, I don't have to worry about that. But they do. That's their life, and that can keep them up at night. That can be a heavy burden to bear and carry on their shoulders.
Yeah.
You know, we have our own. So everyone carries something. None of us, nobody get off scotch-free.
Oh, hi. Show don't. You know, and I mean, you know, what I saw with this card is what you're saying, you know, that life was not easy for a lot of those people that were in that cemetery. Life isn't easy for a lot of us. We do carry things, you know, it's a part of the deal, okay? For most of us, we have to carry shit. We get put through shit. We gotta deal with shit. We gotta wake up with shit, you know. So I kind of feel like that's what they meant by that. That yes, life can be. It can be. Everything is not roses and strawberries. You know, that's what I saw with that card.
Absolutely.
The next card is the future influence, and it's the Lover's card.
And what did you pick up with that?
Well, you know, I'm glad that you asked me because I had a different realization when I got home about this card. And what I got from the Lover's card for the future influence is that there will be, because to me the Lover's card in the illustration of the Right Away, it just kind of gives me like completion, kind of like totality. And I kind of feel like they're saying that there is wholeness after death, that you know there will be happiness, you will have contentment, and there is a love there. There is a love there that you can find. I'm not comparing it to love on earth, but I feel that, see, we should do a show on our hypothesis of the afterlife, but I kind of feel like with this, it kind of says that, you know, you can find that love that you didn't find on earth in the afterlife, that you can find that completion, that feeling forever. I feel like you will be complete, you will have a totality, you know, you will be back. It's going to be complete. I don't know, that's just what I felt with the Lover's card.
I personally picked up on that totality too, that merging, you know, that coming to that beginning and that end finally meeting. Because it's like, just like you said, like, because this subject would bridge into our hypothesis of the afterlife, and I believe that you become a part of everything, and that you possibly can omnipresence yourself, or you know, have that omni potential, that you can, you know, have visitation here on earth, but yet still exist on a higher plane. If you do not limit yourself, because, and that's a huge thing of like kind of not living with regret, you know, and not leaving this place with regret, or leaving your body with regret, because that's how I feel a lot of souls, they become trapped here, is that they're just, they wish they would have did this, or they wish they didn't do this, or, you know, now the weight of all this is on their backs, and now they can't ascend. And it's like, you know, one of the biggest things that life teaches us is that we have to learn to let go. There's so much letting go that happens throughout life. You let go of friends, you let go of lovers, you let go of your job, your house, you, parts of you. We all have to let it go. We all have to lose it. So at some point, even in the afterlife, like, you have to let it go. Like, you can't just like wander around here trying to feed off of, you know, whatever little scraps you can get from, I don't know, like, that's just me, my own thing. But I feel like it's kind of representing that totality and that wholeness and that coming together. So definitely. What's the next one?
So the next card is about the questionnaire, and it was the Three of Chalices.
Okay, I remember this one. This one kind of reminded me of communion, having good times, good memories. There were plenty of beautiful. As much as we struggle, like the Ten of Wands suggested, remember? Okay, Ten of Wands. As much as we do, we still find the silver lining. We still have our laughs. We have those beautiful romantic moments. We have those bang outs, honey, getting banged, honey.
Okay.
By that sickening 10, girl, once upon a time. And, you know, I guess you kind of can't be greedy. You kind of can't look at it and say, well, I didn't get this, but I did get this. You know, I got all this. And this bitch over here, they got all of this. And it's like, okay, but girl, you got you though. You got you though. You ain't no, unless you just were confined to a cell and a bubble and you just could not go out and live a normal life, you had your laughs. Okay, you had your smiles, you had it.
You had your hurrah. You had your hurrah.
Yeah. And that's what you said. That's what you said. Like, bitch, you had your hurrah. I mean, so that's something to be appreciative of, you know?
Yeah. So that's the about the questionnaire. Now the next card is the environmental factors, and it was the Eight of Pentacles.
Mm-hmm. And why don't you take on that one?
Well, that's about work, working. This world is about making money. This world is about building your coin. We're in this system that we were born into. So I feel like this card is a card, about making that money. These people probably all had to work. They all had to, clock in. They had to, make money. They had to do something. So I feel like that is a part of this life that we're all born into. We all have to find a way out here to make it, to make money, to survive, to pay rent, to feed ourselves. Things aren't free. This is a world that you're born into a system already here. So I kind of feel like this card is kind of symbolizing that, building your coin, working, making money. And yeah, I mean, what do you see with it?
Absolutely. I think this was kind of like a reminder that money makes this world go around. That's the system. That's the rule book, honey. We all just trying to make it. We all place every last one of those people that are in the earth right now. They had an appreciation, a value, a respect, and a longing for money. They knew that it provided a gateway to many avenues in their life. Having that house, having that car, having the ability to put the food on the table, having the ability, and some of them struggled to make it. Some of them had to work harder than others to make it. But each bitch had to make it.
Okay.
So, it's just like that's a given. That's a given that you're gonna have to work hard and sometimes toil harder than you normally would want or expect yourself.
Right.
Just to make it.
Yeah.
Just to make it.
Yes. So the next card is the Inner Emotion, and it's the King of Wands. And with this card, I felt that, because the King of Wands can symbolize tradition. And a lot of these people, they did live in the 1800s. They lived in the early 1900s. They lived in a more traditional time than what we live in now. So I kind of feel like this card symbolizes that traditional, but also they got their life, they had their encounters, they had their sexual experiences, they had their attractions, and they had their, fire and just excitement and all of that. But I feel like the King of Wands maybe was a more traditional type of feeling, not like it is now. But they still had their fire. That's kind of what I picked up with this.
Absolutely.
What did you see?
I definitely see that too. That a lot of people come. That was an era, the 1819. That was a very refined. You don't really. I mean, the girls still did, but you didn't really step out of class. And there were different class systems, and thinking about the King of Wands and how he respects those traditions so much so that it's almost fixed. That the King of Wands kind of reminds me of a very, very Leo man, like older Leo man. Honey, if dinner's supposed to be on the table at 8, girl, dinner is supposed to be on the table at 8, and the kids need to be in the house before the lights go out. How they used to say. So they come from that, and they had different morals. They had different backings, and I think it could also be a reminder that those spirits kind of look to our generation, maybe the future generation, with a little bit of fire in their glance, because it's kind of like, y'all are wild. Y'all are wild. Well, we wasn't doing all this back then. Maybe we was getting a little loose in the juke joint,
right,
as they used to call it, but y'all now are just doing it. I mean, you're recording, you're doing this. They got all type of social media, this and that going on, scandals, this and that going on. It was a lot classier. I think that King of Wands represents. So
right. Right. So yes, that's the Inner Emotion. And now the last card, the final result, which was like the most shocking. The most shocking. It was the Judgment card.
That's right.
And for those who don't know what the Judgment card looks like, it is basically these people that died being reborn, basically, or coming out of the grave, coming out of the grave and being called by angel to heaven. And what a coincidence that the last card, the final result, was an illustration of people coming out of the grave when we were in a graveyard, and we're asking the dead people, and we're asking the dead basically to give us kind of a 360 on life. And the last card is a card about basically dead people, you know? So it's not a coincidence.
No, there are none. There are none. When you really walk in the spirit, see, and here's the thing, you know, a lot of, I don't know what the girls are doing over here to the left or to the right, but I do feel like I have seen it be kind of trending or trendy to be either a spiritual worker, witch, or black witch, or whatever you want to call yourself, voodoo worker, whatever, and kind of hype up this going to the graveyard, being in the graveyard, and doing this. But it requires, and it deserves a lot more respect. It deserves a lot more. And yes, a bitch hasn't touched it in well over 10 years and walked up in there and was greeted, welcomed, appreciated, communicated with, bitch channeled, got all the tea, got the left, got the right, got the insects coming over here playing with us, got the birds coming over here playing with us, got the reading laying out on the back. Okay? So that's just to say, like, wherever you are in your spiritual journey, don't feel like you have to force or be a part of anything that you're not ready for at the moment. Let it develop naturally. Let yourself just kind of, you know, let it unfold for you. Okay? Because we could have went up in there, like, oh, you know, we're going to call some spirits and we're going to da-da-da-da-da. And we could have walked up in there being very high and mighty, thinking that, oh, you know, we just the baddest bitch, which we are. Okay? But we could have acted like that. And the spirits would have picked up on that and they would have shaded us. We would have walked through there not feeling anything, probably nothing, bitch paid dust, just walking through silence. No, we were welcomed, we were greeted, we got beloved insight. We didn't even talk about like visiting the different tombstones and how we went to. Oh my gosh! But we already in for like an hour. Okay.
Well, I do want to bring up the. I want
to talk about the little boy.
That's what I was gonna bring up. So okay, you guys. So while we were where we were sitting, you know, I noticed to my left, like in the like maybe 50 feet away in the distance, like this black tomb, like a black the black grave, the tombstone, a black tombstone that stood out. And I'm like, damn, like I was like, that's a badass tombstone. I was like, I want a tombstone like that because it was just black. Like from the back, I could tell it was like a heart-shaped type. And it had like something at the top of it, like two things, but I couldn't tell what it was at the moment. I was like, damn, it just looks so badass. I'm like, who is that? I was like, Raina girl, before we leave, we have to see who that is because I just need to know. Because it just kept on calling out to me, and just the way that it was just black, I was like, when I die, I want to be buried with black like that. Yes. And from where we were, it just looked like if that was a badass witch who died like 100 years ago and they got her this black, that's what in my head I was like, who is this queen, honey? I was like, who is this? I was like, I need to know who this badass bitch over here, because that tombstone looked gorgeous from where we were sitting. So, you know, once we were done with our reading and kind of with that area or whatever, we wanted to kind of move along and see another part of the graveyard. So we wanted to walk over there, and to our surprise, when we get close and we see everything, it's a tombstone for a child, a 4-year-old little boy, who died a couple of years ago. So tell the audience, I mean, what you heard, what you felt. Tell them, girl, because.
Well, okay, so when we approached it was beautiful, and you could tell that the boy, he had a lot of loved ones. You know, they put a lot. They wanted his tombstone to stand out.
Yeah.
There were flowers. There was an actual like rose.
Yeah, there were pictures.
It was yeah. He was well loved and well known and appreciated with his family. And so we're standing over by the tombstone. You know, we're reading and we're getting into it. Now, mind you, this is a 4-year-old boy. Probably, yeah, like 4 years old.
Yeah, he was 4.
Maybe older than that. He was 4?
Yeah, he was 4.
He looked a little older.
Yeah, but I
Maybe
remember
4
the
or 5.
age.
Okay, you did the math. You did the math, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I remember. He was 4. He was 4.
Okay, so the next thing you know, mind you, quiet cemetery. Besides the little coincidences that we're getting, there blares like just from the distance, you can hear a jingle like this. Old McDonald's had a farm. The jingle, okay? And I'm like, at first I heard it, and I'm like, I know I'm not like, is this me picking up on some some subtle? Is this clairaudience? Is this what this is? Is this clairaudience, or is this really happening? So the jingle starts to get loud, and I'm like, Raina, girl, like, you hear that, bitch? Like, you can hear that, right? So Raina's eventually like, yes, I can hear it. Like, I'm like, it's a jingle, right? And at first I'm thinking it's coming from maybe a little toy, because his tombstone had a lot of different things around it. He had a little windmill fans and this and stuff. I'm thinking maybe one of the things that were left has like a little jingle to it, and when you get close enough, you can hear it. Honey, in the distance, there's an ice cream truck approaching or driving through the neighborhood.
But we never see it. But we never see it, though. We never see it. So the point is that we heard. No, go ahead. No, go ahead. No, you go ahead, because go ahead.
Yeah, so we don't see the ice cream truck, but the music starts getting louder and louder and louder. Literally, we could have been standing, and here's the thing, we could have been standing at anyone else's tombstone. We could have been over here. We could have been over there. We could have left. No, exactly as we're giving this little boy his dues and getting into him, the ice cream truck is resonating through things. And this is what we're talking about. I mean, like, the dead speak.
They do.
They speak. Okay? They don't. They can come to you telepathically, but they like to let you know.
Yeah.
When they welcome you and you're humbled and you are there to show respect and you're not there to try to take no damn Instagram. I mean, I think I only took we took a few pictures there, but it was none of which that was rude to show the tombstones.
Yeah, we never took a picture of the tombstones. I took a picture of the cards.
Pictures of the cards.
Our hands holding the cards, but never of actual tombstones.
No, because we weren't there for all that. We were there for them, and we were there to see our spiritual selves and how we resonated and evolved since the time. Since all that time that has passed, that we've grown, we developed, we become more in depth with magic, we become more psychically inclined and divination and everything. Like, what are we going to experience when we go in there? And honey, it was a full course meal. So that is, I think that sums it up. There was a lot more.
It's a lot more, but we like you said, we already been on here for over an hour, so you guys got a cute little, cute little morsel for tonight. Thank you all the new subscribers.
Yes. Thank you guys so much. We are definitely looking to grow this channel. It's still pretty random right now with our story times and stuff like that.
But we're here. And we will, we're here, okay? So definitely stay tuned for more, okay?
All right.
All right, so thank you guys, and we'll see you on the next one.